All right, good morning, everybody. My name is Christina Wigren, and I am here with Stilly Valley Health Connections. Thank you for joining us for this morning's webinar on child safety and CPR. For everyone who's running us live today, please note that this class is set up in a Zoom webinar format. This means that all of our participants are muted and your videos are turned off so that we can record this presentation. However, we do still encourage you to participate by using the chat box or the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen if you have any questions. Now I will pass it over to Megan from South County Fire, and we are very excited to have Megan here today to do this presentation. So thank you, Megan, for joining us, and I hope that everyone who's joined us learns a lot today.
Awesome. Thank you so much, and thank you for having me here today. I'm just going to share my screen really quick and we will get started. All right, so thank you again for having me. We are going to go over child safety and CPR today. My name is Megan LeBlanc. I am a public educator and I work in community outreach for South County Fire. In our fire department, we are the leading agency for Safe Kids Snohomish County. And Safe Kids is a nonprofit organization whose mission is to eliminate accidental injury and death in children ages 0 to 19. And they're a worldwide organization with over 400 US coalitions. And over the last 20 years, through education and dedication and commitment to preventing childhood injury, we've actually seen a 57% decrease in childhood injuries. And so you being here today is just one more step toward keeping the kiddos in our care and our community free from injury. This presentation follows guidelines from the AAP, so the American Academy of Pediatrics. And it's a reminder to always make sure that we're referring to the experts when we're looking for health and safety advice. And then, like it was mentioned, if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat and I'll answer them as we go. Or at the end, you're welcome to ask questions and we'll get them answered then. All right, so today we're going to review 5 categories of childhood injury risks and then what you can do to prevent these at home, at play, and on the road. So we're going to talk about safe sleep. We're going to talk about CPR, choking, and poison prevention, fire safety and burn prevention, and then we're going to go over safety on the road and then water safety. And we want to remember when we're looking at all of these different areas of injury and risk, we want to remember that children are not small adults and they really do depend on us and their caregivers for their health and safety. And then children are most vulnerable when they're being left alone, even for just a minute. They're also vulnerable when their routine changes, when caregivers are tired or sick or extra stressed, or when they're being cared for by someone other than the primary caregiver. But the great news is that all of these injuries can be prevented, and we're going to go over different ways to do that today. So first and foremost, knowing when to call 911 is incredibly important. As the caregiver, we always want you to trust your gut and never hesitate to call 911 for help or if you need help. We always like to say that calling 911 is such a better option than racing to the ER in your car, which brings on a whole new level of danger when you're stressed and it's a high stress situation. Trying to drive the car to the ER poses a whole new set of dangers. And so calling 911 gets you kind of that mobile emergency room coming to you, and they can start life-saving measures as soon as they're on scene. So our average response time is about 5 to 7 minutes. And so that's going to be a lot quicker and a lot safer for them to come to you than you trying to drive to the ER during that high stress situation. So if the kiddo is having any breathing problems or respiratory distress, if they're turning blue, if they become unresponsive, or you cannot wake them up, those are all signs to call 911 right away. And 911 dispatchers are also trained to talk you through all these types of emergencies and kind of help bridge the gap between when you're calling and when first responders arrive. And then if your child has any other signs of trauma, so head, neck, spinal cord injuries, those are also signs to call 911 as soon as you can. So just remember that if you're questioning it or if you're in doubt, please call. That's what we're here for. So the first category we're going to talk about is safe sleep. So we all love watching a sleeping baby, but we also need to get some sleep too as the caregiver. So according to the American Academy of Pediatrics, the safest way for a baby to sleep is to place a baby on their back for naps and bedtime until they're at least 1 year old. You want to choose a firm mattress with a fitted crib sheet. And then cribs, bassinets, and pack and plays are all safe sleep environments as long as they lie flat, have that firm mattress with a tightly fitted sheet, and are free of toys, blankets, pillows, bumper pads, and any other accessories. And then they encourage babies to room share with their caregivers for the first year, but not bed share. So again, they should be in their own separate safe sleep environment, like that bassinet crib or pack and play. And in Snohomish County, an average of 10 babies die each year from unsafe sleep, and 90% of those cases are due to bed sharing. So we want to make sure that they're in the room with us, but they have their own separate safe sleep environment. And then we want to keep babies warm, but we don't want them to overheat or get too warm. And overheating can be caused by dressing baby in too many layers, keeping that room temperature too high, and having baby's head covered when they're indoors, so with a hat. Ideally, you want to keep your room temperature between 65 and 72 degrees and have baby dressed in pajamas or a onesie or a wearable blanket, which is called a sleep sack. And if we're using a sleep sack, we want to make sure we're paying attention to the age or weight restrictions on the label because there are different sized sleep sacks. So this is just a nice little recap of what safe sleep looks like. So we're going to use the ABCs of safe sleep. So baby sleeps alone in their own crib, but in the same room as you. B, baby sleeps on their back for naps and bedtime. And once a baby is able to roll onto their stomach on their own, it's okay to leave them that way to sleep. However, you want to keep putting them on their back each time you lay them down to sleep for the first year. And then C, baby sleeps in a crib that's free of blankets, bumpers, pillows, toys, bottles, any of those other accessories. Okay, I'm just going to pause really quick for a quick question. Yes, and I can absolutely share the slides with everyone as well. So I'll make sure to get those out to you guys too. All right, so by following the ABCs of safe sleep, um, basically the caregiver can sleep better knowing that you've provided that safe sleep environment for your baby. And then not all products that are sold are safe for use. We like to say that anything that has a buckle is not considered a safe sleep device or safe sleep environment. So those swings, those rockers that have a buckle are not a safe sleep environment. And then car seats are great when traveling in the car, as long as they're installed correctly and baby is harnessed correctly. But outside of the car, they can pose a strangulation and suffocation risk. So you want to remove that sleeping kiddo from the car seat as soon as you're home and done running errands and transfer them to that safe sleep environment. And one of the trends that we've seen is weighted sleep sacks. So those are linked to infant deaths and are being considered for ban in the United States. So we do recommend that you stay clear of these until a ruling can be made on them. They are still able to be purchased through Amazon and third-party businesses like that. But they are being considered for that ban here in the US. And then those baby swings or rockers, the reason we don't want to use those as a safe sleep environment is because they don't lie flat. And they're putting the baby at risk for positional suffocation or strangulation. So you only want to be using that swing or bouncer when an adult is actively supervising the baby and the baby's awake. So a great example of this is if, baby is right next to you in the baby swing and you're folding laundry, but you're directly supervising that kiddo in that swing or rocker. Excuse me. And then we want to make sure to never fall asleep while we're sitting in a chair or on a sofa while we're holding baby, because babies can roll from your arms and onto that soft surface and suffocate because that's not a firm surface that creates a safe sleep environment. And you never want to allow baby to sleep on a couch or a bed, as those surfaces are also too soft and have led to many infant deaths as well. And then for baby wearing, so if you have baby against you in a baby carrier, that's a great option for parents to be able to hold baby and still get things done around the house. When you're wearing baby, you just want to make sure that they have a clear airway and are not getting too hot against your body, and keep their head, mouth, and nose uncovered so they're able to get good breaths. All right, so we're going to move on to CPR, choking, and poisoning. So we're going to start off with choking. So signs of choking can include difficulty breathing. They're not able to cry or make any sounds. They're clutching at their throat when they're a little bit older, bluish lips or skin color, and then eventually loss of consciousness. So, common foods that small children can choke on: bread, carrots, nuts, grapes, apples, anything too dry, and hot dogs. And some foods just need to wait until the child is older, while other foods can be cut down to a safe diameter, such as grapes. And then we want to make sure that children are also eating their snacks and their meals, sitting in a high chair and supervised by an adult at all times. If kids are trying to eat and run around and play and do all the things while they're eating, that's not their main focus. And so that can cause choking a lot of times. So, in choking, you want to call 911 as soon as possible, first thing, and then start performing those life-saving measures. Um, and you only want to try to clear that obstruction if you can see it clearly in their mouth. All right, so there's a couple differences for infants and children for choking. So for infants, basically 0 to 1 year old, you want to try to let gravity do the work for you. So you're going to place that baby on your forearm, as shown in that little picture there, supporting their head. And then you're going to perform 5 quick back blows using the palm of your hand. Then you're going to turn child over and perform 5 quick chest thrusts using 2 fingers in the center of the chest, pressing inward and upward. And you're going to continue this cycle until the object is cleared. So this is a pretty fast movement. So you're starting with the child face down, 5 back blows, flip the child over onto your other forearm, 5 chest thrusts, until the object is cleared. Excuse me. Um, so you're going to keep going with this. Hopefully the object is going to clear itself. Um, or the child is going to start coughing and they can breathe again. Uh, but you may also continue until the child becomes unconscious. At that point, you'll start CPR, or help arrives. And then for children 1 to 12 years old, you're going to perform the abdominal thrust maneuver. So depending on the child's height or size, you're going to have the child in an upright position, as we see in the picture there. You're going to hold the child with one hand at the waist, and then with your free hand, you're going to give the child 5 back blows between the shoulder blades with the heel of your hand. If the object does not become dislodged at that point, you're going to put both hands together. You kind of make a fist at the belly button, roll up, and then you're going to use fast, short motions to thrust inward and upward 5 times for that abdominal thrust maneuver. And then same thing here. You're going to continue those 5 back blows, continue those 5 abdominal thrusts until either the object is cleared, the kiddo can cough and breathe, or the child becomes unconscious. Okay, and then whether the child becomes unresponsive from choking or from another medical emergency, learning CPR is a critical tool for any caregiver to have. So if the child becomes unresponsive, you're going to call 911, and then you're going to begin CPR. I like to say, if you can think about it in the moment when you're calling 911, put that phone on speakerphone and just set it beside you. So as we talked about earlier, those 911 dispatchers are trained to walk you through CPR and walk you through those different emergencies. If you go through this class and there was an emergency and you forget everything else, the dispatcher is still going to walk you through it. So for infants, you're going to use two thumbs in the middle of the chest. So on the picture here, it says two fingers. It was just very recently changed to two thumbs in the middle of the chest. You're going to press down 1.5 inches deep for 30 compressions. And then you're going to give two slow, gentle breaths. And your mouth is going to be covering the nose and the mouth of the infant. And then you're going to repeat. Excuse me. So two thumbs, middle of the chest, 30 compressions, two slow breaths, and then repeat. For children, you're going to use the heel of the palm in the middle of the chest, and you're going to press down 2 inches deep for 30 compressions. And then you're going to give two slow, gentle breaths, plugging the nose, and then repeat. Okay, so we're going to watch a short video demonstrating infant CPR. And this, I'll also send a link to this video as well, or it'll be in the slides when we send those out also. And there is sound on this video.
Hi there, my name is Don. I'm from the Canadian Red Cross, and today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how you can help your baby if they're not breathing. First thing you want to do is check and see if they're actually responsive or just sleeping. And you can do that by clapping your hands on either side of them, tapping their feet. If they're not responding, they don't respond to that, you want to call 911 first thing. The second thing you want to do is open the airway and look, listen, and feel. And we're looking for the chest to rise and fall. We're feeling for the breath on our cheek. And we're listening for breath sounds. If you don't hear, feel, or see any of those things, the baby's not breathing and we have to start CPR. So the first thing we're gonna do is pick a spot in the middle of the chest, just below the nipple line, and push on the chest 30 compressions. After 30 compressions, you want to give 2 breaths, just enough to make the chest start to rise. It's important to try to stay calm. Take a deep breath. Continue with the cycles of 30 compressions, 2 breaths, until emergency officials arrive.
All right, so now we're going to watch a short video for child CPR. So notice just a couple of differences between the infant CPR and child CPR.
You arrive on the scene. Check the scene for safety. Check the child for consciousness. Gently tap the shoulder and shout.
Are you okay? Are you okay?
If no response, call 911 immediately.
You, call 911.
If the child is lying on their stomach, turn them over onto their back. They should be lying on a hard, flat surface. Check for breathing and signs of life. Watch their chest for any normal movement. Look for signs of life and breathing for no more than 10 seconds. No breathing or signs of life, begin CPR. Position the heel of one hand on the center of the child's chest. Place your other hand on top. With your elbows locked and arms straight, lean over the child's chest and compress the chest 2 inches in depth 30 times.
1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and 9 and 10 and 11 and 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30.
After 30 compressions, give breaths. Give breaths by tilting the head back, lifting the chin, and pinching the nose. Place your mouth over theirs and give 2 slow, gentle breaths, just enough to make their chest rise. Continue with 30 compressions and 2 breaths.
1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and 9 and 10 and 11 and 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30.
Continue CPR until you see signs of life, another rescuer takes over, or help arrives.
All right. So one thing, if you ever do have to perform CPR, one of the things we do want to mention is that you're going to keep performing those chest compressions and that CPR, but we're not going to stop as soon as we see first responders. So, the fire department, EMTs, paramedics, they're going to come in to the scene. They're going to have all of their gear. So you're going to keep going until someone comes up. They're going to tap you on the shoulder and say, okay, I'm going to take over from here. So we don't want to stop the second that we see first responders get there because we want to have that continuous CPR until they take over. All right, so we're going to move on to poison prevention. So the first step in poison prevention is keeping medication and household cleaners out of reach and sight of children every single time. Many cleaning products closely resemble food, and many medications closely resemble candy. So just keeping these out of reach and sight of children at all times is essential. And then we also want to keep cleaning supplies in their original packaging so there's no confusion for children or adults on what the product is. And then when it comes to medication, we want to use the measuring device that came with the medication to ensure proper dosage. And then we also recommend keeping a medication chart or schedule, especially if multiple caregivers are going to be giving medication to the child. So if mom gave medication to the kiddo in the morning, but grandparents are watching the kiddo in the afternoon, you want to keep that schedule and write clearly down when medication was given so we're not over giving medication. And then just remember that child-resistant packaging is not child-proof. They can find a way into most things. So again, out of sight and out of reach is the first step. All right, so next we're going to move on to burns and home fire safety. So we're going to talk about smoke alarms, fire escape plans, and home fire drills, and then burn prevention and care. So smoke alarms are one of the best ways to keep your family safe from smoke and fire. So we want to make sure that you have enough of them in the right spots and that they're all working. So smoke alarms should be installed on every level of your home. We want one in every single bedroom or sleeping area. And then we want one in the hallway between all of those sleeping areas. And you want to make sure that you're testing your alarms monthly. They'll have a test button on them to ensure that they're still working. You want to change the batteries twice a year, and then smoke alarms actually expire. And so you want to make sure that you're replacing them every 10 years or at the expiration date if that's sooner. And then we also want to make sure that you have a carbon monoxide alarm on every single level of your home. The deadliest home fires happen at night when we're sleeping. And so sleeping with the bedroom doors closed could be the difference between life and death. I think a lot of caregivers are surprised to learn just the difference that having a closed bedroom door can make when we're asleep. But that door does a magnificent job of holding back a lot of the heat and smoke and flames in a fire. And if anybody's ever seen that side-by-side comparison of the test fire when a door was open versus a door was closed, it makes a massive difference. And so for kiddos especially, we like to encourage, if they're scared to sleep with the door closed, encourage night lights or have other, incentives to help them sleep with that door closed because it is so important. And then we encourage everyone to have a fire escape plan. So you want to create a home fire escape plan with at least 2 ways out of every single room, and then choosing a meeting place outside that everybody knows about. Excuse me. We want to make sure that you're practicing this fire escape plan twice per year. So you want to do it during the day and at night, and trying to have everyone exit the home in under 2 minutes. And then some other fire safety reminders for everybody, but especially for kiddos. You want to get out and stay out. So once you're outside, we're never going back in for belongings or pictures or pets or anything like that. Encouraging children, reminding children that they are the most important things. So once they're outside, we want to get out and stay out. And we always get questions about pets from kiddos. So I always encourage them that as soon as first responders get there, they're going in to rescue the pets as well. We want to make sure we're calling 911 from outside of the home. So first priority is to get out and stay out, and then we call 911. And then to get out of the house, we say we want to get low and go or crawl low under smoke. So that smoke and that heat is going to rise a little bit. And so crawling low underneath all of that smoke and heat is going to be the best way to get outside of the house. All right, and we're going to watch a video from NFPA about fire escape plans.
Most people are surprised to learn that when there's a fire in your home, you may have as little as 2 minutes to get out safely from the time the smoke alarm sounds. 2 minutes is not a lot of time, especially when it's the middle of the night and everyone is asleep. And when you add in smoke and heat, confusion and fear, multiple floors, and several people, every second counts. You need to have a plan to get everyone out safely, starting with working alarms, ideally interconnected ones, so that when one alarm in your home sounds, they all do, no matter where the fire starts. Remember to check doors for heat before opening them so you know if it's safe to go that way. During a fire, there's no time to decide who should be doing what. Look at all that time zipping by. Your fire safety plan should include assigned roles so everyone knows what to do and there's no confusion. Children can sleep through a smoke alarm even if it's right next to them, so always check their room and stay with them as you exit the house. In your safety plan, make sure there are 2 marked exits from every room and everyone in the family knows where they are. If the main exit is blocked by smoke or fire, you won't waste time figuring out where to go next. Crouching low and going under the smoke is the safest way to exit. Once you are safely outside, call the fire department right away. Never go back inside a burning building. Firefighters are trained and prepared to enter one. You're not. Picking an outside designated meeting place a safe distance from your home is critical for knowing that everyone has escaped safely. It also helps firefighters know who is safe and who is still inside and needs to be rescued. No one wants to think about their house catching fire. It's scary. But while home escape planning and practice may seem unnecessary, these actions can have heroic impact. Be a hero in your own home. Make a home escape plan with everyone in your family and practice it today.
All right. So with that home fire escape plan, that's something that you can start well, with kids at any age, but start explaining it to your kiddos around preschool or kindergarten age. For a lot of kids, if we ask them, what they would do if they hear the smoke alarm go off, a lot of kids around the preschool kindergarten age say that they will probably hide from it. And so having those conversations earlier ensures that children know what they should be doing when they hear that sound. It's also great to test those smoke alarms when kids are home too, so they know what that sounds like, and just explain that when they hear that sound of the smoke alarm, those 3 beeps that just keep going, that's when we get outside to our meeting place and stay outside. Okay, so we're going to talk about burn prevention and care. So for burns, we want to teach kiddos to stay at least 3 feet away from stoves, barbecues, and cooking spaces. We want to avoid holding a child while we're cooking or eating and drinking hot foods. So we've seen hot foods and liquids spilled on baby while the caregiver was holding them, and that can lead to burns and scalds. And then as kids get older, we can include them in cooking meals, but we never want to leave them alone in the kitchen or let them cook while they're home alone. And we also want to be mindful that we're watching out for hot water scalds and burns. So we want to set your water heater to 120 degrees or less, and then always test that bath water before putting your kiddo into the bath. If we do incur a burn, though, we want to place the burn under cool water for 3 to 5 minutes and then cover it with a clean, dry cloth. We don't want to apply any ointments or creams or sprays because that's going to be trapping that heat within your skin and could make the burn worse. And if it's a major burn, of course, we want to get medical help right away. So either the emergency room or by calling 911, depending on the severity of the burn. I'm just going to pause really quick for questions. Okay, so there's a great suggestion in the chat. So going back to the video for fire escape planning, they suggested having motion activated lights along the hallways and stairways that can be used during fires and power outages. That is a fantastic idea. We encourage that for older adults as well. So there's less trip hazards in the dark. So they have those night lights kind of throughout their home, but that's a great suggestion as well for kiddos. Okay, so I know my family is, and most families are constantly on the move. So we're going to talk about how to keep kids safe in and out of the car. So we're going to talk about car seats or child passenger safety. So we want to ensure that children are using a car seat or a booster seat every single time they're riding in a vehicle, and that the caregiver is using it correctly every single time. We have a whole another hour-long class on car seats, which we recommend that you take as well, but we're just going to go over some of the basics here today. So first, we want to make sure that you're choosing the correct seat and direction based on your child's age, height, and weight. And this can be done by reading the car seat owner's manual. And Washington state law requires that children under the age of 2 stay rear facing. But best practice is that kiddos stay rear facing as long as possible. So as long as that car seat allows it, because that's going to be the safest and the best way to protect their head, neck, and spinal cord as well. And then older kiddos should be in a booster seat until they're 4'9" tall. And we want to make sure that children are not riding in the front seat until they're 13 years old, which is also Washington state law. And when you're using a car seat or a booster seat, make sure that you're reading that car seat manual and your vehicle manual every single time. Proper installation and use of a car seat is almost impossible unless you're reading and following both of those manuals. And then finally, we want to make sure that children are buckled correctly and safely every single time they're in a vehicle. I'm just going to check the chat really quick. Yes, so talking about car seat checks and wanting to come in to see if your car seat is installed correctly, we do offer that here at South County Fire as well. There's typically a child passenger safety technician at the police department or at a fire department that you can go to, and you do need to go to someone who's certified. So if anybody's interested in that, it's just on the South County Fire website to come in person if you're in this area, and we'll check your car seat. Okay, so wheeled sports safety. So essentially, if it has wheels, you need a helmet. That's kind of rule of thumb. You always want to make sure that your kiddos are wearing that helmet when they're biking, skateboarding, riding a scooter, a unicycle, rollerblading, anything with wheels. We want to make sure that there's a helmet involved. You want to make sure that that helmet is properly fitted. So the straps should form a V under the ears. The chin strap should feel snug when the kiddo opens their mouth wide, and you should be able to see the top of the helmet when you look up. We also want to make sure that kids are wearing bright colors so they can be easily seen. And then probably the most important is to just be a good role model for the kiddos by wearing your own helmet in bright colors and teaching them the rules of the road. It's a lot easier to just model that behavior when they're at a young age, so they'll follow along and wear that helmet. A lot of times, kiddos will also say, well, I still got, a scrape on my arm when I was wearing my helmet. But I always respond with, like, the helmet is going to protect what's most important and make sure that you're not getting really serious injuries, and you might get a couple other scrapes or cuts if you fall, but that helmet is protecting that super, super important brain that you have. And then pedestrian safety. Pedestrian injuries are the fifth leading cause of death in children. And pedestrian safety really starts with us as the caregiver. So when they're young, we're holding their hand or keeping them within arm's reach at all times. And then as they get older, make sure that they're paying attention to cars backing out of parking stalls or driveways. And kids are typically not ready to walk alone until they're about 10 years old. Their brains they're just not developed enough to judge distance and speed. So you want to walk with your kiddos and teach them basic road safety. You want to cross only at crosswalks and intersections, so never in the middle of the road. Teach them to look left, right, and left again before crossing. And then make sure that your child learns how to make eye contact with the driver before crossing. And then again, we're setting that great example by wearing those bright colors. We're putting our phone down when we're walking, and making sure that we're also modeling that we're paying attention when we're a pedestrian as well. Okay, and then water safety, as we are slowly but surely making our way to summer here in the Pacific Northwest. So we want to make sure that we're talking with our kids about how to stay safe in and around water. So a few ways to do that. We want to enroll children in swim lessons as early as possible. And there's even those really fun parent and kiddo classes that you can take together. If you have a backyard pool, you want to make sure that there is fencing around that pool with locks and that it stays locked when you're not using it. And then have alarms on the doors that go into that area to alert you when little ones are going outside. If there is an emergency, you want to call 911 right away and then start CPR. And then the most important thing that you can do to keep your kiddo safe in and around water is to supervise them, to actively supervise them. You can assign a responsible adult to be a water watcher. So that's someone who's 100% dedicated to watching children in the water, and they're free of all other distractions like cell phones. And then you can switch out that water watcher every, few minutes or whatever, just to make sure that you have one dedicated, responsible adult who's focused on supervising the kiddos in the water. You also want to teach children that swimming in a pool is quite different than swimming in open water. There's different hazards in open water, such as the undertow, currents, and the water temperature, which can affect swimming and their safety. Okay, and then this one wasn't on our list originally, but we are going to add in this one extra childhood safety tip, and that's related to child window falls. So in Snohomish County, 2 summers ago, we witnessed an unfortunate but alarming increase in children aged 1 through 5 who were falling from second and third story windows. We had a record-breaking year a couple of years ago in Snohomish County. And so with that, we want to make sure that we're getting this information out to caregivers. If you're in this area in Pacific Northwest, you know that we don't typically have air conditioning because we don't typically have tons and tons of really hot weather. So most of us open our windows to cool our homes down. But when we do that, we're now leaving those windows open for children to be able to fall out of. So 3 tips for this to ensure that this does not happen for our kiddos. First, we can install window stops. So they are temporary window stops that could be removed if there was an emergency or fire. but that prevents the window from opening more than 4 inches. So a kiddo's head cannot fit through that and they can't fall out of the window. Um, we do have those here in Snohomish County. And so if you want to request one, you can just request one on our website and we'll mail you a few of those. But we encourage those to be on every single upstairs window. We want to move furniture out from below the windows, so we're deterring children from climbing up and around and near windows that could possibly be open. And then lastly, we don't want to rely on those window screens. Window screens are really meant to keep the bugs out, but not children in. And the screen only withstands about 5 pounds of pressure before it will give way. So essentially, every child is more than 5 pounds if they're in that situation. And so that window screen is not going to hold them in. And this is so important because falls from that height are either deadly or they're leaving the child with head, neck, spinal cord traumatic injuries that will alter their life forever. Okay, and then I also encourage everyone to sign up for a free text message service that's provided by the American Academy of Pediatrics. You can get them through email as well. That's the way I do it. But these messages will align with your child's age and then provide timely safety tips that are related to your kiddo's age. That includes safety and injury prevention information, nutrition and feeding advice, timely health reminders. So during COVID, they provided COVID updates, what to expect at your well child checkups, any upcoming vaccine reminders, developmental milestones to watch for, seasonal health, and so much more. So you can just do that on healthychildren.org. So that is the end of our presentation today. And I want to thank you again so much for joining me today. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat.
Thank you so much, Megan. That was a great presentation.
Thank you.
While we're waiting for any questions to come in, I did just want to share that if anyone is located in North Snohomish County, we do have window locks available for free, and we also do offer those free car seat checks at our facility. And so, if anyone is interested in either of those things, then feel free to give us an email or call. If you're just wanting the window locks, then you're welcome to stop by during business hours.
Okay, so to sign up for those American Academy of Pediatrics tips, you can sign up at healthychildren.org. And I just put that in the chat as well. So for when you're installing a car seat, you should just be able to press down with one hand in the car seat. Are you talking about car seats or CPR? I think we're talking about CPR. CPR, perfect. So when you're pressing down, it's kind of about like a third of the depth of the kiddo's body. So when you're pressing down, you just want to make sure that you're pressing with enough depth that you're kind of the heartbeat for them. You're pressing their heart to make sure that you're the heartbeat and you're circulating that blood and oxygen through their body. So most of the time, I would say people don't press hard enough. So I think as long as you're pressing with a good depth with those thumbs for infants, you're going to be going at least 1.5 inches. Sorry, it's healthychildren.org. Yes, and is there a risk of breaking the rib cage when we're doing CPR? There is. So in our rib cage, there's cartilage and there's bone. And so typically or sometimes during CPR, if we're doing correct CPR and we're getting those compressions to the correct depth, we will at sometimes break some of that cartilage in their rib cage. So that is a common thing that happens. but that's kind of a secondary concern for first responders than making sure that we are pumping that heart to continue getting that blood and oxygen through the body. So ribs, cartilage can be repaired, but our concern is making sure that we are doing quality CPR to circulate that blood and oxygen. Any other questions?
All right. Well, we'll see if anything else comes in here in the next few seconds. But I did just want to thank you, Megan, for doing this presentation
Yeah.
today. And thank you guys for joining us and for engaging in the chat. We appreciate it. And we hope to
Yeah,
see you at
thanks
some
so
future
much.
classes.
Absolutely. Thank you, everybody, for being here, and thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. Everyone have a good rest of your
Thanks.
week.